Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Coach Marv, I wonder, hey, this is a a trial run of me going live for the first time on my YouTube channel. Kind of bear with me. This is Coach Marv, Real Talk. Um, kind of bear with me. I'm just trying to just try some new stuff out. I got a video coming out a little later on. Just trying to get someone who will be with me helping with the editing of that video. But just wanted to try this thing out with the going live onto my new YouTube channel. Been a long time coming. Uh, had a lot of maybe just want to make sure that by viewing it and making sure to see if everything is um, going on and being live and seeing how this thing works out, man. Just want to tell you that just want to thank a lot of people as I this is my first show going live experience. I know I know a lot of the guys I've worked with in the past with the um that have started YouTube channels. They always say that their first video is the kind of the craziest video that they may do, and they have gotten very um astute in putting these productions together. I want to give first of all, I want to give out a shout out to, and I don't know if he's watching. I don't know how to tag people on these videos or these lives. I'm just going out here today. Want to give a shout out to Boss Cowboy Sports. Um, Me and Boss Cowboy talked maybe about 4 years ago now. Um, just on Facebook. He was starting his channel, and he was putting out some information, and he had a Facebook thing, and it came across my feed, and I just did a comment, and he commented back, um, and reached out, and we was talking, and he said, man, he said, um, uh, coach, you know something about football, and I told him that I was a former head coach and a former coach. In high school. Um, did it all from high school to middle school to Pop Warner, been coaching, and then I had to leave coaching, um, health reasons, and moving on to another career in health reasons. But I've always been a student of the game. It's helped out a lot of. There's a lot of young men now that's coaching now that came up under me, and they always look out for me for advice. But I wanted to tell you this give a thank you to Boss Cowboy because Boss brought me on his show, and the camera was moving like crazy when he tried we had on the show about run the ball, and that kind of started and just commenting on his show and then getting into with a lot of the other YouTube uh, content creators because I was linked to Boss, and so it started that stuff started coming across my feed, and I was able to get in and use my as they say, Coach Marv always gets talent, gets his word out because he goes to everybody's show and goes into their comment sections and gets his point of view out there, or he gets the word out there with something we need to start thinking about. I forgive me if I miss someone, but I want to shout out some people, and there's a lot of people. Big Time Show found his station on YouTube. Found out that Big Time was played high school football with a guy that I played at Norfolk State University with, Marlon, and just talking on his show as he grew in his show, just calling when he was taking calls and just giving out good football, just talking good football, and that became a thing that I did when he came on live. JC Cowboy, same thing. He's doing outstanding work right now with doing videos. If you watching Coach Marv, please go out there and support JC Boss Cowboy Sports, as well as Big Time Show. But all these people, but JC Cowboy does a great job in videos, and him and his crew do a great job. Also, the Godfather, Law Nation, um, great guy. Always give me ample time to get my point of view. Is always open to giving, if you can get somewhere, get contact with him, sending him videos and trying to get things across, because we all love football. All these Vosh, Amp Sports, Keystone, me, Boss Cowboy, and Amp. We have been doing a live stream for every Cowboy game, and that's how people have gotten to know Coach Marv and his philosophies. And we have done every Cowboy game. I mean, we have done Cowboy games live stream with doing the Thanksgiving break when we would step away from our tables of turkey and be doing the live stream with the Cowboys. So we have this Cowboy Nation has been very good to me, and allowing an old man like me to get out there and voice his opinion about things. Stargazy, um, J Tuck, a lot of people, man, has allowed me to come out. Landlord, Henny Sports, West Coast, all these people have allowed me to come on their shows and talk, and because they know that I'm a true Cowboy fan. I've been around to really see and really root for my Cowboys to win, as they won 4 Super Bowls. A lot of people, the first Super Bowl they got, I was a little boy, really didn't know anything about football, but I have really been a fan for 4 of the Super Bowls, or the 5 Super Bowls that our Cowboys have won. I have always been a Cowboy fan. I understand the history of Cowboy fandom. Cowboys has always been the biggest stage in football. They're probably one of the biggest stages in sports. So it's been a lot that I have seen with Dallas Cowboys. And I know a lot of times when I'm talking, a lot of people say, "Hey, Coach, you're an old school guy," but I do truly believe that history repeats itself. And we look back in our lives, and we look into society, history has a chance to repeat itself. And teams that are great organizations have a blueprint and a identity of how they won. Even though the names have changed, some of the jerseys have changed. Our jerseys haven't really changed, but the jerseys and the name has changed. Some of the facilities have changed, but our blueprint of winning is basically the same, because you can look at our blueprint from the 70s, and then you look at how we were dominant in the 90s, and if you really look at it, the blueprint was the exact same, and they were 20 years apart. So things people would know in the 90s were saying, "Oh man, the 70s is a different style," but things stay the same because the Cowboys have a certain identity to win. And so I've been a Cowboy fan for a while, and I am an old school guy when it comes to true football. That's why the name of this, as you start to see, and as I go through this, embark on this YouTube channel, and as you can see the name, my little logo up in the top corner, or the name of my channel is Coach Marv Real Talk. Real talk. And when I say about real talk, Coach Marv is going to give it to you straight, and sometimes straight with no Novocaine. And sometimes you might not, some of y'all may not agree. Don't have no problem with people not agreeing and not thinking about agreeing about what I say. Sometimes we're going to agree. Sometimes we're not going to agree. Sometimes we're going to say we're wrong. And some of the guys I've worked with on these podcasts and live streams and stuff like that, they can always tell you that Coach Marv, if he said, "Hey man, if there's something wrong," he was wrong about something because he had a feeling about something. He has no problem with admitting that he's wrong. One thing about coaching and the coaching profession, you have to learn, you have to stand on what you believe in, and you got to be able to look at other people's advice and look at things in a different manner. And you got to be able to allow yourself to grow. And sometimes growing means being wrong. But sometimes with experience, and you watch the experience, some people that work with you got to understand that experience. And sometimes it looks like you're wrong about some things. But if you take a little while and it keeps going, it's usually you get around back being the right again. So sometimes I say some things that, that I don't like, and sometimes I try to give the benefit of the doubt of some things. But we're gonna try to keep it real talk here, and we're gonna try to talk about really basic types of football knowledge. Hopefully, this channel, in my live streams and my videos, gonna teach you a little bit more about the inner workings of how you go with the psychological part about football. It's going to go into sometimes we're going to in some X's and O's. We're going to talk about some technique issues. We're going to talk about some type of mentality type things. We got to understand that the game of football, we look at it as an athletic sport, but it was what's between these two headphone things, and that's the head that's going to, and your brain, and your capacity and your thinking is what's going to separate you from being okay to good, from good to very good to great, and from great to being a Hall of Famer. It's not always about the talent. It's not always about the speed. It's about the size. It's sometimes about the heart and the mentality that you go about doing your business. So that's what Coach Marv is going to be talking about when he talks about a lot of these topics when we talk about in Cowboy Land. There's some interesting topics out there already that I touched on the video, on a recording that I made on yesterday with a friend of mine who's helping me with, and that was my first recording, and he's doing the editing and all of that, and it's going to be some stuff that we're going to have some slides. Now, Coach is going to have to work on upgrading slides and all that stuff, but I'm quite sure that my counterparts out there, like Boss Cowboy and JC Cowboy and Big Time Show and Amp Sports and all those guys are going to do, if I ask them to give me some help of getting the old coach into the technological thing, they're going to help a guy out and put some things together, because we all working for one common goal. I don't want to ever get on the side of one side of another. And I know sometimes we can do that in general and in fun, but we want to make sure that we all stand on one side. And that one side is Cowboys winning and getting to a point that we dominate the NFL like we have always done for many years. An interesting point when we talk about Cowboy fans, when people start talking about we hadn't been to a championship game in 30 years, point out to them that we can still have the second most victories in playoffs. We got the second most victories in playoffs. I mean, the third most victories in playoffs. And we hadn't won, and talking about how many playoff games we don't won, we go on a drought for 30 years, and we still third in playoff victories. That tells you how prestige of an organization that you had. That tells how dominant of an organization that you're rooting for, how dominant they have been. Some of you out there that may not want to join the and want to like and comment and subscribe, and if y'all listening to this live video, I want you to make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and send the old coaches some messages and some messages of encouragement, and sometimes some topics that you want to go over. But some of our fans are not going to deal with old coach, because if you look at it, most of our fans as Cowboy fans just came around in the last 25 years. And you think about a lot of the fans that's coming on now, and this is no diss to the Cowboy fans. This is not saying that they're not truly Cowboy fans, but just think about it. A lot of the Cowboy fans have grown because our brand is so big, and we are on the biggest stage, and we getting a lot of publicity, good or bad, that it draws a lot of people, because a lot of people jump on the bandwagon because they want to be around the team that's being talked about the most. Sometimes that's a great thing. That makes the Joneses a lot of money. It makes us as Cowboy fans that like me that have been around Cowboys for almost 50 years. It makes me feel good because I see a lot of Cowboys thing, and I guess Cowboy stuff out there, and I see people really want to be Cowboy fans. But it can also be a curse because sometimes we get what we call imposters. We get people that are not really true to football fans. We get people that sometimes really don't know the grind or know the history of your Cowboy team to understand how we have won in the past. Sometimes we get Cowboy fans, and there's some that has been in the last 20 years, and I'm not talking and saying that all of them. There's a lot of great Cowboy fans that you don't have to be around for 50 years to be a great Cowboy fan. You could be a great Cowboy fan if you only started rooting for this team last year. But sometimes we have to understand, and I would like for a lot of our Cowboy fans to go back and look at the history. Go back and see the history of our players. Go back and see the history of how we had adversity. Go back and see how the team was built and how it was successful. There's a guy named Logic Cowboy, and I don't know if I know he don't know Coach Marv, but I like to give guys shout outs that does great work. And he has a YouTube channel called Logic Cowboy. And he does, if you go in there, you join subscribe his channel. If you do subscribe his channel, or you see something, you comment on them, tell them old Coach Marv send them over there. Sent you over there because he does a great job of doing videos of the history of the Cowboys, of guys in this history and talking about the history of the Cowboys. And what you will learn is that you will find out that, wow, some of the stuff that went on before is happening now. Just a case in point. We always talk about the Joneses don't pay people. And one thing you're gonna find about Coach Marv. I'm not gonna be an apologist for the Joneses. I know that they have done, sometimes I think they get too wrapped up into brand. And I don't know if that's Jerry, because Jerry understands. One thing I thought about Jerry Jones, if you go back in his history of who he played college football for, and you go back when he was with Jimmy Johnson in college and the guy he played football for, one of the toughest football coaches in the history of football. And if you go back to Jimmy, and when Jerry hired Jimmy, you understand that Jerry understands what it takes to be a champion and the grind it takes. But sometimes some of the people that he may have surrounded him might not know that grind. But I say that it's because when we talk about the organization not paying people, hell, the Cowboys ain't never paid nobody. When Tex Graham didn't own the team, guys had to fight for their money then. They'll tell you, listen to Drew Pearson and the guys that played for them, but talking about how they had to fight for their money, how the Cowboys would kind of swindle people in contracts. Learn your history of your team, and you will see history, regardless with Jerry or the owners before that. It repeats itself. The Cowboys have always used the philosophy of this is the biggest stage, and since we're the biggest stage, you should take less because we give you the opportunity to be famous. That's it. That ain't just started. That's been for a while. And they have paid their megastars some. The Harvey Martins didn't get really paid. The Dorsets had to fight for his money. The Drew Pearsons had to fight for their money. They had a running back number 30. I'm going to just say a number. Check out the number 33 running back that won their first Super Bowl and how he left the Cowboys because of contract disputes. And that's not Tony Dorsett. Do your homework on that one. So this has not changed. Things ain't changed. But that's why I say that's why I want the younger fans. when I'm talking about these younger fans, I want these younger fans to learn the history. I posted some of Logic Cowboy stuff. I started posting some stuff on Twitter. Well, not Twitter, on X. Coach Marv 1914 on X. I wanted to go live on there, but with this video here, but when I clicked to go live to my Twitter account, they're like, "Hey, you got to have a bigger subscription. No, I got to have a more of an account. I just got the basic account. They're like, hey, with the basic account, you can't go live. You got to have the premium account. So hey, we'll see about that if I get the premium account to go live on that. But and then I tried to go Facebook and something happened with that. But I started a new Facebook account, Coach Marv, on Facebook. If you want to, want you to like and comment, subscribe on this channel, on my YouTube channel. I want you to go to Facebook and send me a friend request and join my Facebook account at Coach Marv, and go to my X account at Coach Marv 1914. The more I can get into that point, so the more I can try to get into some things, so I can start doing some things different. But those are the things I try to do. I try to post these things with this, and try to post Logic Cowboy things on those platforms, because I want y'all to try to learn your cowboy history, and I think that's very important. So, some of these old cowboy fans out there, let's try to teach the history of our Cowboys. Let's understand, if we go back to the history, we can build a team that can be a championship team. One thing I can tell you about football, it's 2025 now. In 1965, the same principles still gonna win games. The team to tackle the best, the team to block the best, the team to make the least amount of mistakes, and the team that stay together and in unison play the hardest. Usually those teams are going to decide who's going to be playing on the last days of the season. And yes, talent is important. But when you get to the level of the NFL, the talent level from the sorriest team, what we consider the sorriest team, to the top team is very minimal. What separates when you get into the NFL, what separates the great players is the ones that can take what you can get, be around great motivation, be around great people, actually hone in on their skills, get better, and their mental capacity is stronger, so they can impose their will on the next grown man. Those things are not seen by the ordinary eye of a fan. Those probably be seen by people who have really played it. And I'm not dissing people who not played it and not saying that they can't see it. But when you have to be really conscious of looking into it, and you see that you can find those type of qualities that puts you over the top. You don't have to be a coach. You don't have to be a old football person like me to be able to see and be a great analogy of somebody can diagnose a game. No. But you have to understand that it's more than just running patterns. It's more than them play calls. It's more than just saying I got guys that got names. It's one of the greatest. Football is the greatest team sport in sports. No other sports takes this many moving parts and have to put them together to have an outcome and defeat other teams with the same amount of players. No sport has to put that many moving parts together to get something done, and in unison over a long period of time to get something done. One thing about winning championships when you're on the football field, and some of y'all can, whoever's out there that won championships before, either in Pop Warner or middle school, high school, college, semi-pro, junior college, anything. Any of you that have been on a football team and you have won a championship, you understand that you have built a union with those people for the rest of your lives. It'll be 50 years from now, you'll be talking about, man, my championship team, we won a Pop Warner when I was 8 years old. And you will understand as time goes on that everybody on that team is considered a champion. And everybody played a role. From the people who organized the league, to the people who put the field together, to the people who sold the concession stands, people who coached the team, the parents that brought you there to go to practice, the players that you played with, the officials there, everybody had a part of, and it has to be put together for them to put the stage together, and then the teams have to perform in unison to get a job done. And that's what makes this sport great. That's why I love this sport, because I understand it takes so much work. So on this channel, you're going to hear me talk about the inner workings and some of the things I think is behind the scenes in the philosophies that we have to think about to put it together. We have our own, in this Dallas community of content creators, man, we got some brilliant minds. We got some that specialize in the X's and O's. We got some that specialize in the inner workings of how to think in some of the conspiracy things and really digging in deep. We got some that really do great, man. A lot of them do great job in scouting and evaluating players, man. Some of these guys, man, I think they could be scouts of where they go around and see players. Now, Coach Marv hadn't really been jumping into a lot of videos. He's not that point of the scout thing, but I can look in, but my eyes are a lot better of seeing talent. I can really, I think I have a very good feel about reading people. And when I hear people talk or players talk, Coach Marv listens. And one thing I always listen for, when you contradict yourself. And when you start contradicting yourself, I don't stop listening to what you say, and I start watching what you do. I don't even listen to a Jerry Jones or a Stephen Jones interview anymore. There's no need. Why? They're only going to say the things that they want you want to hear. But when it boils down to, what do they do? What do they do? So if we watch what they do, we'll understand about this team and where they're going. And there's some videos that I'm going to say, but I want to just leave you with some things right off of I stop this live that I want you to think about as Cowboy fans, because there's going to be some things that I'm going to talk about in these upcoming weeks. Think about some of the things that this ownership has said before we start jumping and going to the point that we killing them. And I'm not defending them at all, because I think they have made a lot of mistakes, but I think they have done a lot of good. I just think one of the things that they have not done is got the right people to run this team. I think Jerry's did all the blueprint with two things: of getting this team, who to run this team, and allowing them to run this team hard. But think about some of these things he said. Jerry said, and I listen to what he said here, because some of the things we have to understand when we listen to Stephen Jones and Jerry, they'll slide some reality things in there, but they're not really sexy. They're not one of the things that really catches the media attention. They're not one of these talking points. But they be some of those things they slide in there is the real of how they really feeling. And since they're not sexy comments and they're not comments that we want to jump on the 4-letter word or the 3-letter network jumps on because they can make talking points, we kind of miss it as Cowboy fans. But early on this offseason, they talked about we're not developing right. We want to focus on development. That's why they changed the whole coaching staff out. Now, what did they say? What did they do? They only kept maybe 1 or 2 guys. Everybody else, they could say, y'all can walk. Because they felt that they were underachieving development-wise. And they were right. They said last year, and I don't think when we talked about free agents, I don't think everybody caught what they said last year. They said that we are looking to sign our core. And they meant that. And that's smart. Now, we might think that they're taking too long to sign their core. They hadn't signed Michael Parsons yet. You're like, why did we sign him? Well, listen, I don't even get involved with that because if Michael Parsons made $45-50 million APY, and that's one of my professions that that I work as. I work in accounting, so I'm not going to go in. I've made another show that I might go into the depths of telling you, man, let's don't look at the APY. Let's look at the structure of a deal. But let's say for publicity purpose, he gets $50 million APY average per year. Is that going to help us win? Is that going to make us win a Super Bowl? Oh, but yes, we want to lock him up. But regardless of what Dak makes, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Parsons, Osa, Terrence Steele, that's not going to get us no Super Bowl. Just because you got the highest paid players don't give you no Super Bowl. I'm a Dodgers baseball fan. How many years the Dodgers and the Yankees go and don't win the Super Bowl, and win a World Series, and you have teams that don't even have you got teams that win the World Series that their payroll ain't the Dodgers outfield payroll. Their whole payroll don't match the Dodgers outfield, and they win the World Series. Yeah, they won a World Series last year, but how many times? So payroll doesn't mean championships. We the most valued franchise in the league. And we are probably always been the most valued NFL franchise for a long time. Has that equated for us to win a championship? So what the money is doesn't equate. So Coach Maul don't really work. He just wanted to make sure that we get the guy signed. And yes, it's not even for me to say, well, why we dogging the guy out? Man, listen, these guys gonna make their money, and I want them to make what they want. That's what they got to do. So I don't get into that about when they gonna pay him. For me as a fan, and I think for y'all as fans, we should be worried about, are we winning as a team? Because at the end of the day, when we disappointed and we don't win, they still gonna be riding around in Lamborghinis. And I'm not hating on them for that. But we're gonna be sad. So what we want to do is win. So I think the Joneses already know they're gonna pay Michael Parsons. They're gonna let him walk out the door. But we worried about if they're gonna pay him early, they're gonna pay him late. when you're on a stage like the Cowboys and you're Michael Parsons, guess what? Their agents already know what they're gonna get, what they want, and you can sign that early or you can sign late. But they're not gonna sign nothing that's gonna make him undervalue. They already know what the market is gonna go up to. They already know what it's gonna go up to. So they could have put an offer on the board 4 months ago. It's still gonna be probably right about what it's gonna be now. Those people not gonna take it, because if they do sign something really low and the Cowboys get over and then 3-4 years later they way out the market, the player gonna look dumb for signing a contract like that. So I'm listening, man. Think about it, man. The ownership is gonna do what they did. They said they're gonna sign their core, and that's what teams do. If we're looking for them to get free agents to be a part of the core, that's not happening. And that don't supposed to happen, people. Look around the league. Most teams, their core is who they draft. And most teams have a core group, and then they build around the other parts of the core group, and they trust their coaches to make sure that they can get the best out of the players they put around them. Because they say they know it's unfeasible to try to get core players in every position and buy guys when you have when you do have a core. Most of the teams who are out there in free agency going to get most of the free, getting 5 or 6 free agents and getting all this, don't have a core. They're trying to build one. And the core of this team is Michael Parsons, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. It was Diggs, but it'll probably be if Bland has a good season this year, they'll probably make Bland the next core piece. They have made Osa one of the core pieces up front. They're probably trying to make a linebacker, one of these linebackers, a core piece. They have a core piece already. They're not going to let Tyler Smith get out the door. They signed with Steele, but that's not a Steele. Steele is not a top ranked one. If you're going to have some, what we call a core, and then we'll have a sub core, he's a sub core guy. This contract is not crazy. And he probably got some outs in it. You may get a core out of the tight end if you have a great year, but they may just move on and try to get another tight end. There's not going to be no other. I don't think Cowboys going to be a team in here that's going to sign Pickens to a $30 million, $20-something million contract. That ain't going to happen. They're going to have your core, and then you build around your core and you keep it. That's the way they did it in the past. That's the way championship teams now are doing it. That's where now Kansas City, that's how they build their team. There's Jones, Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey. Everybody else, they may get a lineman here and there, but everybody else, they're going to keep moving them in and out, and they're going to trust their coaching staff, and they're going to trust their draft department and their people to get the next guy, and we're going to coach them up. We're going to read our core. We're going to get these guys in for them to do their part, and that's how we're going to win. So the Joneses said they're going to sign their core, and they meant that. And then they added on this year that they're going to feel like they need to develop, and they need to do it the KC way. Where our guys, we're going to get a guy here and there on a free agent or a draft, or we may get a couple, and we're going to bring them 1 year, but we're just trying to get the most out of these guys, but we're going to trust our coaching staff to get the maximum out of our players. And we're going to see. I think that's the best philosophy that they can go with. It may not be the sexiest philosophy, but you're going to have to trust your coaches to get to a championship. I was on Big Time Show today. He called me and he said, "Coach, hold your stuff off for your content." I just want to bring up an interesting point when I say trust your coaches. I hate that team in Philadelphia. Always have. That one in New York called the Giants. Can't stand them either. The Commodes, the Commanders down in Washington. Can't stand them either. NFC teams, NFC East teams, I can't stand. Why? Because it's the best football conference division in football history. And now we're looking at it, got its dominance again, because we had two teams from that division in the NFC Championship game. And we got them coming back. And plus, I think we're gonna be a lot better. So I think the championship gonna come out of the NFC East. So I have a reason not to like them. The only team I think is gonna struggle in the NFC East is because they got even worse. They got the worst management and the worst coaching staff in the league. Dayball is horrible. And the Giants are horrible. Their philosophy is we're going to beat them like a drum. Everybody's going to beat them like a drum. But I look at the Eagles, and I have to tip my cap to them. Not because they won a championship. How they won it. And I know some of y'all looking at this live stream, and I'm going to say some things. And some of y'all going to say, oh, man, Coach Marv, you're an Eagle fan? Nope. What my show says, Coach Marv, the real talk. And real talk says this. 2 years ago, last year, Eagles went and won the Super Bowl. 2 years prior to that, they went to the Super Bowl. What was the same about the team 2 years ago that was about the team this past year? Well, 2 years ago, they were number one in the league in defense. And they led the NFL in rushing. The next year, the defense fell off crazy. Remember, they had all the problems. They fired the defense coordinator in the middle of the season and moved another guy, and then they couldn't stop a nosebleed every time they lose games at the end. People were killing them. Dak threw for 500 yards. They was killing them. And then they had to run the game, and then they stopped running the ball when they had Swift. And they went in the playoffs, limping in the playoffs, and got destroyed. And I think sometimes we don't remember that. They tried to let Jalen Hurts throw the ball more because they were running the ball early in the year, then they stopped running the ball, and they wanted Jalen Hurts to throw the ball more because he had just gotten his contract, and he had almost a lead in interceptions. Do we remember that? That was the year before. They won the first games when they went the first games, but they really were sneaking by. And then they won the last, and it lost about 4 or 5 games in a row at the end. Now, the previous year, they was in the Super Bowl. Even though they lost the Super Bowl. And then this year, the next year, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. And then their rushing game fell off. Well, this is where I tip my cap to them. They were smart enough to know their damn identity. And they were smart enough not to listen to everybody talk about they need to get some receivers, they need to get more explosive. They were smart enough to say, there's 2 things that we need to change on this team going into the next year. And they told their head coach, either you're going to change it back to this or you're going to be gone. And Sirianni said, because Sirianni is a pass guy. He really don't run the ball. Look at his history. He's the one kind of trying to push that passing thing. But they changed 2 things, and this truth. They had enough skin and enough feeling about themselves, right? To be able to go and say, we're going to forget about we just paid our quarterback $55 million. We're going to forget about that. And at that time, he was close to the top paid quarterback. And we're going to bring in a running back like Saquon Barkley. And we're going to make him the focal point of our offense. That takes some real gumption and foresight. And really takes really common sense. I know boss tell me sometimes I use common sense coaching, but that's common sense. They went and said, we need to get a running back in here because the year prior, when we had a top running attack and he didn't throw the ball as much, and we allowed him to throw and make big plays with the passing game, but not allow him to dominate the game with the passing game, we went to the Super Bowl. So they went and got Saquon Barkley to make him a focal point over a $50 million quarterback. I'm not telling you that there's no lies. And then, speaking on that, let's speak on when I talked about the Giants just a few minutes ago. The Giants have a video where their general manager talked about them not signing Saquon Barkley because they had paid Danny Dimes $40 million a year, APY, and they just gave him a contract. And he said, why were we going to sign Saquon and give the ball to Saquon and we got $40 million quarterback? That don't make no sense because they signed with $40 million. They felt to say we should put him in the driver's seat and get rid of Saquon Barkley because we don't pay $40 million for a quarterback. How'd that work out? Quarterbacks getting their money $50 to $60 million because that's what the position pays. The NFL made the position pay that much. Would you go take a job if everybody's paying $40 an hour for a job and everybody's making $40 regardless how big the company is, how size the company, regardless of how well the job is, everybody's making between $35 and $40 an hour for the job. So you gonna go take the job at some company for $15 or $20? They put out reports every year, all the time, about what jobs supposed to pay. And most companies have to look at these reports, so they'll pay you what the average or what is comparable to everybody in that profession. So that's what the job pays. The job of quarterback pays the highest salary on the team. And it starts off at 30. It goes up from there. And you get his bonuses. Most people get raises for being in a job for longer. So that's why Dak makes $60 million a year. He get bonuses. He was in a job that he was in a job for 4 years when he was getting less than $1 million a year. Nobody talk about that, do y'all? So when it came down to with Philadelphia, they say, well, that's what the job pays. Hurst got what the job pays. But that don't mean he got to be the focal point. We're going to bring a running back in here. We're not going to try to go get a third wide receiver. The receivers we got, when we run the ball effective enough, ain't enough passes for them to get 3-4 wide receivers the ball. But is that the biggest thing that they did? I give them credit for that. That takes guts. But what the biggest thing they did was, 2 years ago, they were the number one defensive team in the league when they went and lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl. The next year, they was one of the worst defensive teams in the last 7 games of the season. They said, we're going to get our defense back to number one status again. Improve our running game again. get our defense status back to number one, which they did. And guess what? They was back in the Super Bowl and they won it. They were smart enough to know their identity and to know what win football games. And they didn't give I don't want to curse, but they didn't give a damn of what the 3-letter network, what the 4-letter network said. They didn't give a damn what other fans said about Hurts is not no quarterback. He can't put a team on his back. They didn't give a damn about his stats done failed and he only got 200-yard games. They didn't care nothing about that. They cared about winning football games and winning the Super Bowl. And they cared about winning it their way. And Jalen Hurts walk around like he ain't got to prove nothing to nobody. He don't care if he throw for 104 yards or 404 yards. He just care about the W. Because now he got his paper. And once you get your check, you have to worry about. I ain't worried about the stats. Now I'm worried about winning titles. Because if I win titles, they're gonna magnify the stats. Yeah. If you win titles, they're gonna find whatever you did great and they're gonna magnify that. They was bold enough, and how did they get their defense back together? They went and said our defense was horrible, and they cleaned the entire house of their defensive staff. They told them all to get out. Went and got them an old school defense coordinator, brought him back in there, and they hired some of the best assistants that they could find in those areas. Think about it. If you go back to off season, you can see that they went and got guys. And they didn't go get a bunch of free agents. They said, we got a good enough defense 2 years ago that was the number one defense. And then last year, with virtually the same people, we couldn't stop a nosebleed. They went and got somebody else to motivate those good players that they already had. They went and drafted a couple of guys to play in the secondary and didn't say, well, those guys are young. We need to go get some more. No, they said, if y'all was good and we believe in our talent, they brought them people in there and them coaches went to work. And they brought that unit together, held it accountable, got rid of them pass rusher. Everybody talking about, well, they get rid of Hassan because they got rid of everybody who didn't want to promote. They felt they were not going to promote the change that's going to be with the change that they want. They didn't want nobody that had a bunch of media coverage or act like he was great because they wanted substance guys. And that's what they did. They coached up those two young guys. They asked them to do their jobs. They got their defense back to number one. They got their running game back. And they held the Lombardi Trophy. And damn the Eagles. But I tip my cap to them. Because that's real. I wish our Cowboy fans and our owners would say, let's go back to substance. And let's stop chasing everybody out there and get the guys we got to perform like we know they have performed. See, if I was coming in this team, I'd say, man, we were 12-5 3 years in a row. This team ain't changed. We went 7-10 because my quarterback was hurt. Everybody else went, and we just had disarray because the ownership ain't had no confidence in the coaching. They were lame duck status. I would come in this thing and say, hey, man, we're going to take up, but we got to get the guys that got to be 12-5. The guys that I saw when Quinn had this defense was ranked at number 10. Let's get that back. And add a few pieces and let's rock and roll. That's where I think Schottenheim's going. because he know that the Cowboys are not going to buy everybody for him. But I hope behind closed doors he's telling them, say, well, hey, Jerry, Steven, there's going to be a couple things I need, or something you may try to infend and give me. But let me coach this team hard. If they do that for him and he allow him to coach this team hard, then I'll wait for our results to see how it go. Does he have to tell everybody that in the media? No. But behind closed doors, when they have those meetings, he's got to stand on his principles. And I hope the toughness Schottenheimer comes out of his dad comes out of him. And if he stands on that, and he done hired the right guys to motivate, he'll be all right. But just want to talk about some of my videos coming up. I got a video that's going to talk about, and it's going to be a video releasing. It's going to talk about what we need to do to get to how we're going to build a culture and not a brand. It's going to touch on some of my some of the things I think that it's going to be a 5-step thing that we need to do that's going to build something that's going to be long lasting and that's going to get us through the rough spots, going to get us through the tough games. It's something that we got to lean on as a team. I'm also going to get the part of that video that's going to come out. We're going to talk about, and as I said, is George Pickens, is he going to be a team asset, a team fit, or he's going to be a potential problem? I know some who's on this live, they probably shooting me down because he said Coach already then got mad talking about guys a potential problem. Nope. I don't think the guy's going to be a potential problem. I think the guy could be great. And you'll see my breakdown about what areas I said it is going to be, and it's going to be challenging. But if the young man can get some leadership around him and the right people talking to him, he could be a great fit. And if he understands that right now what's the most important for him than stats, the most important for him to be is on and be a contributor. Maybe not the lead contributor, but be a contributor the right way to a championship team. And that will make him more money than him trying to be a superstar stat guy. So you're going to see my breakdown on that. Again, I don't know if I'm up live or not. I should have been checking this out. I might be doing this and might have talked all this talk and really had said nothing to the fan base at all. But I just wanted to make sure that I went on this thing for the first time live and gave y'all, man, look at that coach. Always, people say coach is always long-winded. My coaches used to tell me that, coach, you long-winded, but you try to make sure you get the point across and to get everybody on one page. But again, man, coach is not on this show to fight anybody. You're not going to see coach going to no back and forth and no verbal back and forth battles with people trying to fight. Because if you're a Cowboy fan, we all trying to get to the same goal. So there's no need to go. We may have a different opinion. I just want us to be open-minded. And I also don't want us to start getting opinions from people who are not Cowboy fans. In these shows, I'm going to always give you some analogies. and some acronyms that I always come up with. But when I tell our Cowboy fans, think about this. When we think about the other pundits that's talking to us and they're getting on our nerves and making us go back and forth. And sometimes some of our own Cowboy fans listen to people who are not Cowboy fans and getting opinions from them and then arguing with Cowboy fans about opinions that they got from somebody who's not a Cowboy fan. Remember this. Do not take advice. Do not take criticism from anybody that you can't get advice from. Do not take criticism from anybody that you can't get advice from. Because the people that give you criticism that you can get advice from, that criticism is usually constructive criticism. But people who give you criticism that you can't get advice from, most times is to denigrate you, to get you off your kilt, and to aggravate you. So when we start listening to advice from the Stephen A. Smiths and the 3-letter and 4-letter network about what the Cowboys should do, and then they start criticizing, and then we bring it back to the shows, our shows, and start talking to our content creators and our fans and start going back and arguing about what somebody else out there who ain't going to give us no advice to really win. They're going to just shoot us down. They're not Cowboy fans. And then we start arguing about opinions that somebody gave us that really don't like us. Think about that. If they're telling you need all these wide receivers and need to throw the ball and Dak need all these weapons, and that's what they first put on the board talking about this is what the Cowboys want, the first thing they know is the Cowboys win 75 or 80% of their games when they run the ball and they run the ball effectively. They ain't say run it every down, but run effective. When the Cowboys have a physical mindset of offense, everything else flows better for them. So just remember who you getting your information from. So on this show, we're not going to divvy into people that I know that cares less about the Cowboys. They're going to only give you advice to get you off of, they're almost like a smoke screen. They want to get you on something that ain't going to do no good for you to win. So I want y'all to hang with me, and support me, because I'm supporting everybody out there that's on this journey to get to 6 and get to it. And hopefully we're gonna get this video the setup, the lighting, and all that better. Don't look for Coach Marv to come out here with all the thrills and frills. I am gonna come up with some more stuff from frills because, hey man, the content that I bring out there to you, I don't want to think that I'm coming out here with anything, because I think it's important that y'all have great content. And Boss taught me that. Boss told me that it's important if we're trying to give a message to you, we should respect y'all enough to give you the best show and visual things that we can give you, because we're trying to get something to come across to you. And a lot of the guys have shown me that I work, been on their shows or try to work with. So, but we're in a work in progress. I thank you for your time. Wild as an hour goes by. Check out my videos. I'm gonna come out with some shorts with that video I made on yesterday. It's not too late, because it's gonna come out. Coach is gonna have to be a little bit faster with his content, and more, instead of doing content, I might just come on live. If this is working, I might just come on live and shoot it to you with the live. And that way I can get my content out there and just talking to off the hip about what I see and what's going on but I am gonna make some videos and to come out, and hopefully I get to the point where I'm inviting some guests to come on, and then once I get this up, I'm gonna start moving on to some of my other shows, contents that I want. Because we're gonna, Coach Marvin's gonna have a sports show too. I'm not just a football guy. I love basketball. I love baseball. I love sports. I've coached them all. I don't coach baseball. I don't coach basketball. I don't coach them all. And um, so it's a love for me, and I love coaching, and I love the Cowboys, and I love you two fans out there. So many people that have went on so many channels and talked about Coach Marv and said hello to Coach Marv and salute Coach Marv and all that. And I ain't one of those guys with a channel, and I have one now. But I just thank y'all so much for the kind support, and so I will be, until I get monetized, for me to keep on and trying to keep this stuff up and get the stuff I need. I'll start posting my Cash App down at the bottom of the screen when I go live, man. If y'all want to, man, please Cash App me so I can try to build my technical stuff up and get the stuff I need so I can continue to do stuff to build on them as we go on this journey to go to 6, man. Again, man, we're gonna have some of the things, the slogans to come out, but we're gonna talk about some things. And remember, man, we can do this together. All our opinions count. Just like our voice matters, our opinion matters. Our opinion matters, but our passion must be united for one goal, one sound, one goal, champions. And who's ever on this team, we need support and make them the best that they can be. Because if we go against them, we're just breaking them down. Let's don't keep our expectations too high for a certain player, but let's keep our expectations high for the team to get to their goals. Salute, Cowboy fans. Thank you so much for your time. Peace. I'm out.